Good afternoon, students. So in this session we are going to start Bayes theorem. So one of the important topic in probability. So based on this one 3 marks question will be expected. So in Bayes theorem, so let us discuss first about partition of sample space. Before defining Bayes theorem, so we should know some basic terms. Okay. So one is partition of sample space. Partition of a sample space. Let S is the sample space of a random experiment. Let S be the sample space of a random experiment given. So any random experiment is given, we know how to write the sample space S. Now after writing the sample space, we are considering the partition of sample space. Now partition of sample space is nothing but dividing the sample space into subsets. Okay. Now these subsets are nothing but events. So we are dividing the sample space into some events which are satisfying the conditions. Okay. So partition is nothing but dividing. Now how we are dividing this? Let us take the partitions or subsets. Let E1, E2, E3 and so on up to En are said to represent the partition of sample space if. So these events E1, E2, E3 up to En are said to represent the partition of sample space S if the conditions are: first condition, they should be pairwise disjoint. Okay. Events E1, E2, E3 and so on up to En are mutually exclusive events. Mutually exclusive events is nothing but pairwise disjoint. Okay. So disjoint events means there is no common elements for any of the events. So they are also called mutually exclusive events. So they are mutually exclusive events or pairwise disjoint. They are mutually exclusive or pairwise disjoint. Second condition, they are exhaustive events. They should be exhaustive events. And third condition, they have non-zero probability of occurrence. P of Ei is not equal to 0 for I equal to 1, 2, 3 up to n. So they are having non-zero probability of occurrence. So if these three conditions are satisfied, then we can say that these events E1, E2, E3 up to En, they are representing the partition of sample space. Okay. See the first condition, these events are mutually exclusive or pairwise disjoint. Any two pair we take. Okay. So they should be disjoint. So disjoint is nothing but there is no common elements. So what is the mathematical condition we can write here? Ei intersection with Ej is a null set. Okay. Any two events we take, they should be disjoint. Okay. There is no common elements for these events. For I not equal to j and Ij values 1, 2, 3 up to n. So this is a condition for mutually exclusive events or pairwise disjoint events, and they should be exhaustive events. So what about definition of exhaustive events we studied? If the union of all the events is sample space, then the events are called as exhaustive events. They should be exhaustive events means E1 union E2 union E3 union up to En. It should be the sample space. Okay. So mathematically we can write as union of Ei where I value changing from 1 to n is the sample space S. Okay, we are taking the union of all the events. If it is a sample space, then they are said to be exhaustive events, and the probability of occurrence of any of the events is non-zero. Okay, if these three conditions are satisfied, then these events E1, E2, E3 up to En are said to represent the partition of a sample space S. Understanding? Now, if I draw diagrammatically, we can show like this. Suppose this is a sample space S given. Okay, sample space is nothing but we can consider it in the form of universal set. Okay, so this sample space, now we are dividing into partitions. Okay, how we are dividing into partitions? Like this. Suppose this is E1, this is E2, E3, E4 and so on. You can divide into any number of partitions. So, we are dividing into partitions. Now, what is the condition these partitions should satisfy here? They should be mutually exclusive, that is a pairwise disjoint. If I take any two of these events, are they mutually exclusive or not? There is no common elements for any of the events, and also they should be exhaustive events. Combining all this E1 union E2, E3, E4 union up to E6, combining all this, are we getting sample space or not? Combining all, we are getting the sample space, and the probability of occurrence of any of the events is non-zero. Okay, so the event should occur, so it is probability not zero. So, when these three conditions are satisfied, then the events are said to be represent the partition of the sample space. Understand? So, this is diagrammatically, no common elements, combining all we are getting sample space. Okay, let us see some numerical example to better understand about this partition of sample space. Okay. Let us take a simple experiment. Suppose if experiment is rolling a die. In the experiment of rolling a die, we know the sample space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, this sample space we are partitioning. Okay, we are partitioning into some subsets events. Let E1 is the event of getting the 1, 3. E2 is the event of getting 2, 4. E3 is the event of getting 5, 6. Suppose we take events like this. Now, these events E1, E2, E3, observe that are they forming the partition of sample space or not? Now, how do we check that the events are forming the partition of sample space? If it is satisfying that three conditions. What are the three conditions? They should be pairwise disjoint, mutually exclusive events, and they should be exhaustive events. Combining all, we should get the sample space, and the probability of occurrence of any of the events is non-zero. Okay. See, what about E1 intersection E2? There is no common elements, so it is a disjoint. E2 intersection E3, no common elements, disjoint. E1 intersection E3, they are also disjoint. So, they are pairwise disjoint, they are mutually exclusive events. So, it is satisfying the first condition. Next, second condition, combining all E1 union E2 union E3, are we getting sample space? Union of all the three is nothing but sample space. So, it is satisfying the second condition also. Third condition, probability of occurrence of any of the events is non-zero. Okay. So, that is also satisfied. So, these three conditions are satisfied. We can say that here E1, E2, E3, these events are representing the partition of sample space S here. Okay. So, here E1 intersection E2 is a null set, E2 intersection E3 is also null set, E3 intersection E1 is also null set. So, they are mutually exclusive events. So, E1, E2, E3 are mutually exclusive events and what is E1 union E2 union E3, combining all we are getting the sample space, and P of E1 is 2 by 6, P of E2 is 2 by 6, P of E3 is 2 by 6. They are having non-zero probabilities of occurrence. So, therefore, we can say E1, E2, E3, these events are representing partition of sample space. These are representing the partition of sample space. Understand? Suppose if I change one of these events, understand about this partition of sample space, we are dividing the sample space into some subsets which are satisfying that three conditions. Now, instead of this E1, E2, E3, if I change the events, see are they representing a partition or not? Suppose if I remove 5, 6 here, okay. So, again they are disjoint events, mutual exclusive is satisfied, but what about exhaustive? By combining all this, are we getting sample space? We are not getting sample space. So, these are not forming the partition of sample space. Suppose if I write like this, another event E4, okay. So, even though they are satisfying the first two conditions, mutual exclusive, no common elements for any of the events, they are satisfying the mutual exclusiveness, and exhaustive events, combining all this, we are getting the sample space, second condition also satisfied. But what about probability of E4 here? Probability of E4 is 0 because number of elements is 0 here. So, the probability of occurrence of fourth event is 0. Now, can we say that these 4 are forming the partition? Okay. So, here these 4 are not forming the partition because it is not satisfying that condition. The events probability of occurrence of this event should be non-zero. So, when I include E4 like this, these are not forming the partition. Okay. Now, in general, I will give an example for this partition of sample space. Let us consider the class 12 students of our college. Okay. So, in our college we are having the class 12 students. Now, these class 12 students, we are partitioning them into divisions or sections. Okay. We are dividing the total students of class 12 into some divisions or sections like section A, section B, C, D. Suppose there are 10 sections, we are taking like this. Now, these sections are forming the partition of class 12 students of this college. Okay. So, we are forming the partition of this college. Okay. I am taking the class 12 students. Now, we are dividing them into sections. This is section A, section B, section C, D like this. Now, will there be any common students for two sections? There will be no students who are common. Okay. One student is in C section means we cannot consider him in A section or D section. Okay. So, we are dividing the class 12 students into some partitions. Now, when we are dividing into partitions, we can make sure that there is no common elements, and we have to make sure that all the students are coming in any one of the sections. Okay. So, this is satisfying that conditions of partition of sample space. So, that is why we can take the divisions of class 12 students, we can consider it in the form of partition of sample space. Understand? Now, after the partition of sample space, now we will define theorem of total probability. Theorem of total probability. Again, still we are not defining a Bayes theorem. So, again before stating the Bayes theorem, first we should know what is this theorem of total probability. Okay. So to state the theorem of total probability, we will consider the partition of sample space. So first we write the statement, then we write the proof of this theorem of total probability. Statement is, let E1, E2, E3 and so on up to En represent the partition of sample space S of a random experiment okay. Let us take events E1, E2, E3 up to En are representing the partition of sample space S. So they are representing the partition of sample space means they are satisfying that three conditions we studied. So whenever they are satisfying that three conditions and let A be an event associated with the sample space let A is any event associated with the sample space, then the probability of occurrence of A is any event associated with the sample space S given, then the probability of occurrence of this event A, it is written as probability of E1 into probability of A given E1 plus probability of E2 into probability of A given E2 plus and so on, probability of En into probability of A given En. Okay. This is what theorem of total probability. Now notation wise we can write in the form of summation. Okay. We are having the sum of n terms, so it can be written as sigma. Okay. So we can write P of Ei, I is changing here, we can write in the form of j, P of Ej into P of A given Ej, where j values are changing from 1 to n. Okay. So the probability of occurrence of event A can be written as sigma from j equal to 1 to n, P of Ej into P of A given Ej. Okay. So this is the theorem of total probability. So what is the meaning of this? Probability of occurrence of A. Okay. Observe diagrammatically, we will explain once what is the meaning of this theorem of total probability. Now we are considering the partition of sample space. Suppose this is a partition of sample space. E1, E2, E3, E4, E5 and so on. Okay. We are having n number of events. Now these are constituting the partition of sample space, that is what first we are considering. So they are pairwise disjoint, they are exhaustive events and they are having non-zero probability of occurrence, and we are considering A be an event associated with the sample space. Okay. Let us take an event A. Suppose this is the event A I am taking. So this darkly shaded region is the event A. Now this event A, it may have occurred in E1, it may have occurred in E2, it may have occurred in E3, or it may have occurred in E4, it have occurred in E5, E6, like this. So we are finding the total probability of occurrence of A. Okay. So the probability of occurrence of A means it may happen in E1 or it may happen in E2 or E3, E4, E5 up to En. So that is what we are writing here. First we are selecting E1. Okay. So out of this n events, first we are selecting one of the event. In that, what is the chance of occurrence of event A? So P of E1 into P of A given E1, means occurrence of A when it is given that we are selecting E1. This is one case. Next, it may have occurred in E2. So, first we select E2. In that, what is the probability of A given that we are selected E2 and E3? Okay, if I select E3, P of E3, in that what is the probability of occurrence of A given that E3 is selected, and so on. It may have occurred in En. Okay, so this total probability we are finding for the event A. Understanding? So this event A, it is common to all these events E1, E2, E3 up to En. It may have occurred in any one of the events E1, E2, E3 up to En. Okay, so this is the theorem of total probability. Understand? Now let us see the proof of this. Okay, so proof not important. Just observe how we are getting the total probability of occurrence of event A here. So since these are forming the partition of sample space, so they are satisfying these conditions. Okay. So here EI intersection EJ is null set for I not equal to j and ij values 1, 2, 3 up to n, and union of all this E1, union E2, union E3 up to En is sample spaces, and P of Ei is not equal to 0 for I equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on up to n. This is the condition for partition of sample space. Using this, we are going to prove what is the total probability of occurrence of event A. Understanding here, A is the event which may have occurred in any one of these events. So, we are finding the total probability of occurrence of A, which is common to all the events E1, E2, E3 up to En. Let us see the proof of this. Right. Since we are writing the probability of occurrence of event A, okay, let us write event A. I can write as A intersection with sample space. Okay, S is the universal set here. Any event intersection with universal set will get the same set A. So A I can write as A intersection is A intersection. How can you write S here? S can be written as union of all the events E1, E2, E3 up to En. So it is E1 union E2 union E3 up to En. Because they are satisfying the partition of sample space, they are exhaustive events. So exhaustive events means combining all, we should get sample space. So the sample space I am writing like this, E1 union E2 up to En. Now take intersection with A, apply distributive law, it is A intersection E1 union A intersection E2 union A intersection E3 union and so on up to A intersection En. Applying distributive law, this is what we get. Now we are interested in probability of event A. Okay. So let us take probability on both sides. So probability of A can be written as probability of A intersection E1 union A intersection E2 union A intersection E3 and so on A intersection En. Now probability of A intersection E1 is one event, union second event, union third event and so on. Now what about these events? A intersection E1, we know that E1, E2, E3 up to En, they are mutually exclusive events. Now when E1, E2, E3 and so on up to En are mutually exclusive, as there is no common elements for any of these events. If I take E1 intersection A, E2 intersection A, E3 intersection A and so on. These are also mutually exclusive events. These are also mutually exclusive events because you can observe this. E1 intersection A. This is E1, this is A. What is common part is this one. This is E1 intersection A. Next, E2 intersection A. This is E2, this is A. Now common part is this one. Now these two are again mutually exclusive. If I take E3 intersection A, this is E3 and this is A. So common part is this one. Now this is disjoint to this and this is disjoint to this, like this. Now these events are again mutually exclusive events. Now when the events are mutually exclusive, what is the probability of their union I can write? If you remember probability of A union B, how we are writing? P of A plus P of B. If A, B are mutually exclusive events, when A, B are mutually exclusive events, probability of A intersection B is 0. Their intersection is null set. So probability of A intersection B is 0. So when the events are mutually exclusive, what is the probability of their union I can write? Probability of their sum I can write. Probability of union of the events we can write probability of the sum of the events when the events are mutually exclusive. Not only for two events. If A, B, C are mutually exclusive, A, B, C, three events are mutually exclusive, how can I write P of A intersection A union B union C? It is nothing but P of A plus P of B plus P of C. Okay. Now we can extend it to any number of events. So here the point is, when the events are mutually exclusive events, the probability of union of the events can be written as probability of sum of the events. Okay. So using this mutual exclusiveness, how can you write probability of these unions? I can write probability of sums A intersection E1 plus A intersection E2 plus A intersection E3 plus and so on. Probability of A intersection En. Okay. Reason here, E1 intersection A, E2 intersection A and so on. En intersection A are mutually exclusive events. That's why we are writing a sum of their probabilities. Probability of A intersection EI, E1. Now here we can apply multiplication theorem. So probability of A intersection E1, I can write probability of E1 into probability of A given E1. Occurrence of both the events can be written as occurrence of one event and occurrence of second event, knowing that first event has already occurred, plus again occurrence of two events, I can write occurrence of one event and occurrence of other event, knowing that first event has already occurred, and so on. Probability of En into probability of A given En. Okay, this is the probability of event A. This is what we are writing the theorem of total probability. See the statement. This is what the formula we have written. Now if I write this in the form of summation, it can be written as in the form of summation sigma from j equal to 1 to n P of Ej into P of A given Ej, where j values are changing from 1 to n. So this is a proof of theorem of total probability. Understand? So A is the event we are taking, which is common to all these events E1, E2, E3 up to En, and we are finding the probability of occurrence of this event A, which may happen in E1 or it may happen in E2 or it may happen in E3, E4 up to En. Understanding? Now let us take one general example to understand what is this theorem of total probability. Okay. So let us take that previous example only we discussed. So for the partition of sample space, we are taking the sections of class 12 students. So So, the sections of class 12 students, we are dividing them into partitions like E1, E2, E3 up to E6. Okay. So, here in our example, we are taking E1 is the students of first section, E2 is the students of second section, and so on. E6 is the students of sixth section. So, like this the total class 12 students, we are partitioning them into sections like E1, E2, E3 up to E6. So, these are the divisions, in that there are some students. Okay. Now, we are taking another event A. Now, this event A may have occurred in E1, or it may have occurred in E2, or it may have occurred in E3, E4, E5 up to E6. It can occur in all these events also. Okay. It is occurring in E1, E2, E3 up to E6. So, let us define the common event. Suppose we are conducting a test to all the students and we are given the marks. Now, we are interested in the students who got distinction. Okay. So, let A is the event of student getting distinction marks. Okay. So, A is the event of the students who are getting the distinction marks. Now, this event A means getting distinction. It may have occurred in E1. In first section there will be some students who got distinction. In second section there will be some students who got distinction. Third section also there will be some students who got distinction. So, this event A may have occurred in E1 or E2, E3 up to E6. It can be occurring in all the events or any of these events. Now, we are interested in finding the probability that student getting distinction marks. Okay. In the break time, all the students got mixed. Okay. Now, we do not know which student is from which section. So, in the break time, I have taken one student. Now, I want to find the probability that he got a distinction. Okay. So, we are interested in finding the probability of student getting the distinction. So, how do you find this here? First, we will select one of the section. In that, what is the chance of getting a distinction? Okay. So, write the total probability of occurrence of distinction marks for the students. It is selection of first section P of E1. Now, when we know that first section is selected, in that what is the chance of getting distinction marks? It is P of A, given that we are selecting first section. Now, is it only the one case? That is not the only one case. Distinction marks we may get in second section also, or third section also, or up to last section E6. So, you have to take sum of all these probabilities. It may have occurred in first section or it may have occurred in second section. We will take select E2 with probability P of E2. Then, knowing that we are selecting second section, what is the chance of getting a distinction? P of A given E2. Next, it may have occurred in E3. So, P of E3, select E3, in that what is the chance of getting distinction, and so on. So, it may have extend up to any number of events depending on how many sections we are having. So, this is the theorem of total probability. Understand? So, first we are taking the partition, that is sections E1, E2, E3 up to En. In that we are defining the common event which may have occurred in any of these events, and we are finding the probability of that event A. Okay. By using this theorem of total probability. Understand up to here? Now, using this partition of sample space and theorem of total probability, now we will state the Bayes theorem. So, again first we write the statement of Bayes theorem, and then we will write the proof of this Bayes theorem. Okay. So, this Bayes theorem, it is named after mathematician John Bayes. Since he developed the theorem, so it is named after him as the Bayes theorem. So first let us see the statement. Let E1, E2, E3 up to En represent partition of sample space S associated with a random experiment. And let A be an event. We are taking an event A associated with the sample space S. Okay. So according to theorem of total probability, we know how to write P of A. Now what Bayes theorem says is, then the probability of occurrence of EI, given that event A has already occurred. Okay, we are finding the probability of occurrence of EI given that the event A has occurred. It is written as probability of EI into probability of A given EI divided by, so denominator we take all the possibilities, that is probability of E1 into probability of A given E1 plus probability of E2 probability of A given E2 plus and so on, probability of En into probability of A given En. Okay, this is what Bayes theorem. So here the probability of occurrence of EI we are finding when it is known that event A has already occurred. Okay, so by knowing that event A has occurred, now we are finding the probability that it occurred in which event. Okay, it is occurred in E1 or it is occurred in E2 or E3 up to En. So here I values are changing from 1 to n, where I values are changing from 1, 2, 3 up to n. Understand? So this is the statement of Bayes theorem. So denominator I can write in the form of sigma notation, P of EI into P of A given EI divided by, denominator I can write in the form sigma j equal to 1 to n, P of EJ into P of A given EJ. This is a Bayes theorem. Okay. So first let us see the proof of this Bayes theorem, then we will understand what is the meaning of this Bayes theorem with the general example. Okay. So remember the statement, let the proof. So consider the left hand side, P of EI given A. Okay, left hand side we are taking probability of EI given A. Now by definition of conditional probability, how can you write P of EI given A? It is probability of EI intersection A divided by probability of A. Okay, probability of EI intersection A divided by probability of A. This is by conditional probability. So numerator we are writing like this. Next, probability of EI intersection A. How can you write probability of EI intersection A? By using multiplication theorem, occurrence of both the events. So occurrence of both the events I can write as occurrence of one of the event P of EI into occurrence of event A, knowing that event E I has already occurred. So P of A given EI we can write. So by using multiplication theorem, numerator I am writing like this, P of EI into P of A given EI divided by P of A. Since by multiplication theorem, on probability, by using the multiplication theorem on probability. Now denominator, numerator is same, P of EI into P of A given EI divided by P of A, that is the probability of occurrence of A. By using the theorem of total probability, how can I write P of A here? It is sigma j equal to 1 to n P of Ej into P of A given Ej. See the statement, theorem of total probability. We are writing P of A as sigma from j equal to 1 to n P of Ej into P of A given Ej. This is what, since by theorem of total probability, so using all the previous concepts to prove this Bayes theorem. Okay. So this I can write P of EI into P of A given EI divided by P of A, which is sigma from j equal to 1 to n P of Ej into P of A given Ej. So this is the probability of occurrence of EI given E. This is the proof of Bayes theorem. Okay. So whenever we need the proof of Bayes theorem, so we have to mention about all these things. First you have to mention about partition of sample space, then you have to mention about multiplication theorem, then theorem of total probability. Using all this only we are proving this Bayes theorem. Okay. Now what is the actual meaning of this Bayes theorem? Observe here, we are taking the partition of sample space, like we are writing E1, E2, E3 and so on. And we are taking some common event A, which may have occurred in any one of these events. Right, this is the event A. Okay. So let us compare this with our example we are discussing. So we are taking E1, E2, E3 up to E6 as the sections or divisions of class 12, and A is the event of getting a distinction. Okay, the students who got a distinction. So we are finding the total probability of occurrence of A, that is a total probability of getting distinction marks. Now that distinction we may get in E1 or we may get in E2 or we may get in E3 up to E6. That is what we applied theorem of total probability, that is P of A we are finding. Now here what we are interested is, now see the situation. In the break time all the students got mixed. Okay. Now one student I selected. Okay. One of the student I selected and I asked what is his result. Now the student answered as he got distinction marks. Okay. The student answered that he got distinction marks. Now he may be from any one of the sections, that we don't know. Okay. So I know that he got a distinction. Now what is the chance that he is from first section? We are finding the reverse probability here. Understanding? Already we know that the student got distinction marks. Now I don't know that he is from which section. Now I want to find the probability that he is from first section, or I can find the probability that he is from second section. Like this, event A has already occurred. Okay. Already I know that the student got distinction marks. Now what is the probability that he is from particular section? If I take I as 1, what is the probability that he is from first section? Okay. Like this. This is what finding the reverse probability. Given that already we know that the student got a distinction marks. Now in that what is the chance that he is from first section? Or I can take what is the probability that he is from second section, E2 given A, or I can take probability that he is from third section given that he got distinction. So like this probability of EI given A. So this is what the reverse probability we are finding by using this Bayes theorem. Understand? So how can I write that probability that he is from first section now? Probability that he is from first section given that the student got distinction. So first what we write is denominator, that is the total cases. So what is the total probability here? Total probability of getting distinction, it may occur in first section, P of E1 into probability of A given E1. First we are selecting first section in the chance of getting distinction, or select second section in that chance of getting distinction given that second section is selected, and so on up to P of En into P of A given En. This is the denominator, that is the total possible cases, total probability. Now out of this total, what we are interested here? We are interested in what is the chance that it is from the first section. So out of all these total cases, we are interested in the first case. So let us write this first case in the numerator, that is what favorable case. So I can write it as probability of E1 into probability of A given E1. Okay. So selection of first section in that probability of getting the distinction marks. So like this we are finding the reverse probability by using Bayes theorem. Understand? If I want to find the probability that he is from fourth section, P of E4